Okay. I said we're going to talk about Eliyahu Hanavi. Let's talk about Eliyahu Hanavi a little bit. The pasuk in Malachi says that before Bias Mashiach, the pasuk says, "Hine anochi shaleach lechem es Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hanavi lefnei ba'yom Hashem." I think lefnei ba'yom Hagad v'Haneira. I think the pasuk says, Hashem says, "I'm going to send you Eliyahu Hanavi before Mashiach comes," and this is an area of big confusion, like everything else that we spoke about so far. Exactly when, exactly how, exactly to who, to do what. This is all not so simple. Now, before we talk about who exactly, what the role of Eliyahu Hanavi is going to play, and when he's going to come, and who he's coming for, I want to talk about a little bit. We've been talking about this theme of the arc of history, like how everything's supposed to lead to something. So there's just a few stories in regards to this arc of history theme with Eliyahu Hanavi that I want to share with you. For starters, like this, the Chayzev Lublin had a clock on his wall, amongst many other personal effects. Now the Chayzev's son did not become a rebbe after him, as far as I know. And the Chayzev's son, or one of his sons, yarshened his clock, along with a becher, along with a rekel, and a few personal effects. Hang on. What did he say? Yes.
If you listen, you heard the answer.
He was traveling, and he stopped in an inn, and the guy fed him, and he slept the night, and then when it came time to paying, he said, "I don't have any money, but I have these things. You could choose which one you think is worth the goods and services you provided me, and you could take it, and whatever it is, that'll be your payment." So the innkeeper, a simple person, surveyed the goods on the table, and he said, "This nice wall clock seems to be pachas yosher, the value of what you owe me. I'll take this wall clock." So now he hung this. The innkeeper took this wall clock. He hung it on the wall in one of the rooms, and everyone lived happily ever after. Then several months later, I forgot which Rebbe it was traveling. Another Gracie Rebbe, I forgot his name, was traveling, and he ended up in the same inn. And the innkeeper put him in that room that now had the Chayz's wall clock on the wall. And the innkeeper heard him all night, pacing about, almost like dancing, like hopping and dancing, joyously pacing his room all night. And
heard who?
Heard this tzaddik that he put in this room, dancing
not the
joyously.
Chayz. You heard the
all
person
night.
who's
The Chayz is dead. The Chayz is not alive
anymore.
So in the morning, he asks him, what was this? What was going on in this room the whole night? And he says, "Whose clock was that on the wall? That wasn't a regular clock." He says, "Funny you should ask. I got it from the Chayz's son. It's the Chayz's clock." He says, "I knew it. Every clock, every time it makes that tick, to the next minute, it's marching 1 minute closer to death." And he says, "That's important, because a person has to know that every minute you're marching 1 minute closer to death. But this one, every minute it marched, it was 1 minute closer to Mashiach. It's marching. It was marching 1 minute closer to Mashiach." And I was so filled with joy that this is moving that I couldn't sleep. I was just full of hystractious. So it's not an interesting story about the arc of history, so to speak, and how the Chayz's clock, which his son incidentally gave away for a pittance, was marching towards that destiny. Now, to tie this to Eliyahu Hanavi, I saw a quote. I have an article I printed out over here from an old Yiddish newspaper from Warsaw before the war. It was actually published in the Warsaw Ghetto, the Warsaw Ghetto Tagblatt or something, and in it says we're all sitting here, we're crammed into this ghetto, and we're hoping that Mashiach is going to come, Eliyahu Hanavi is going to come. It says Mistam Eliyahu is going to show up to the corner of, and they give the cross streets, to the corner of, I forget which ones, to the corner of no, not 770 Eastern Parkway.
Gaza?
No, not Gaza. To the corner of Geulah Vablanki. Geulah Vablanki, to the square, and he's going to stand there and he's going to call us all together, it says. And it's a paraphrasing, but it's in Hebrew, but he's paraphrasing the Yiddish. He's going to call us all together. And the old Chassidim with the longer reklach are going to come, and the young boys with the clean-shaven faces are going to come, and women are going to come, and children are going to come, and he's going to joyously lead us all out of here, to go to Geulah. Now, the person writing this article, wistfully comments at the end that all of these people with this hope are dead. They died, like. All these people are dead with this hope, but we all live with this hope that, whatever the square that we have in mind, that Eliyahu Hanavi will come, and he'll gather all kinds of Jews together and bring them. That's what the pasuk in Malach is referring to. Now, one of the ways that this idea of Eliyahu Navi coming to redeem Klal Yisrael, and it could be today, and it could be right away, and gather us all together, the way that this idea is perpetuated and kept alive in a very real way is the Zmiris of Motzei Shabbos. Now, I don't know how many people say all the Zmiris of Motzei Shabbos when we have Malka, but if you do, the Zmiris of Motzei Shabbos, so there's a whole bunch of them that are Eliyahu Navi based, all about Eliyahu Navi, and one of them that's particularly interesting is the song called Ish Chasid Haya. I don't know who here says it, but it's a story. Yeah, so you know the story, it's a story. But no, because you say the words, you sing the song. So I'll tell you the story. So the story is Ish Chasid Haya Bli Mazin Mechya. There was a worthy, a good man who couldn't make a parnasa. Bebayis Isaac Milavush, Ben Beged Lilvash. He worked, Bebayis Isaac Milavush, Ben Beged Lilvash, he didn't have what to wear. Goinin B'chashuva Isha, Gam Ben Achamish, he had a lot of children, he couldn't feed them. He says his wife talked to him, she told him, go out there, get something to eat. The children are hungry, they don't have clothing to wear. So it says he goes out to the street to try to make a parnasa. And in the middle here, a few stanzas in, he bumps into Eliyahu Navi. Over b'shuk b'savrasi v'hine Eliyahu Navi l'krasai. He's wandering in the street trying to make a parnasa, and suddenly Eliyahu Navi standing in front of him. Patzlei hamavaser, and Eliyahu is referred to as hamavaser, the bearer of good tidings. Patzlei hamavaser, the mavaser turns to him and says, "Be'emes hayom tisasher." Today you're going to get rich. Tzaveni b'chol kvedecha ki in avdecha. Tell me whatever you want, and I'll do it for you. Krolimi b'daita. You know, and it has a happy ending, where eventually this person gets what he needs, and then it ends off with a tefillah that Klal Yisrael should also get what they need. You know, the mavaser should come for us all and give us what we need. Now, it's an interesting line over here. It says, "Patzlei hamavaser, be'emes hayom tishaser." Today, be'emes today, you're going to get wealthy. But that's a little bit redundant. Be'emes hayom tishaser, like for real today. Like that's how we talk. That's a manner of speech. But like for real today, I'm not joking. Like I'm not just saying like you should have a lot of atzlach. It should be good. For real today, you should get wealthy. So the Chabina Rav is the Masber that there's a Gemara in Sanhedrin that talks about Eliyahu Navi coming, and we'll read the Gemara first, and then we'll say the Chabina Rav's Havan over here. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says that Rabbi Shua ben Levi Ashkechei li Eliyahu. Shua Levi bumped into Eliyahu. The Havikoya Pischa de Marta. The Rishim ben Ichai. Eliyahu Navi was standing by the entrance to the cave of Rishim ben Ichai. So it says Yeshua ben Levi met Eliyahu Navi in Miron. Amar le asina la'alma, asina la'alma da'asi. Bring me to Elam Haba. Amar le im yirtza adin hazeh, fine. Amar Yeshua ben Levi. Then he asks him, and he says, when are you coming? To which Eliyahu Navi says, Hayom, I'm coming today. Okay, obviously Eliyahu Navi doesn't come the day that Yeshua ben Levi had this conversation. Yeshua ben Levi says, and what about Mashiach? He says, why don't you go ask Mashiach yourself when he's coming? So he says, where can I find him? So he tells Yeshua ben Levi, you could go find him. He's sitting by the Shari Roimi amongst the Aniyim, and he's full of wounds, and he's uncovering each wound and rebandaging it. So he goes to Mashiach, and he asks Mashiach, he says, Shalom Alecha, Rabbi Meiri, Shalom Alecha, Amalei le'emes ha'kasi mar, when are you coming? Amalei hayom, today. Asal gabe Eliyahu, Amalei maya amalach, what did he tell you? Amalei tells him the whole conversation, and then he says, Amalei shikuri kamashakabi, you lying to me? Amalei hayom kasina v'lei asa. You told me you're coming today, and you didn't come. So then Ravi tells him, Amalei hachi amalach, this is what I was telling you, this is what Mashiach was telling you. Hayom im b'koilei tishmo, a play on the pasuk. The pasuk says, Hayom im b'koilei tishmo. Today, I'm coming today. If you're listening to the Koil of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so it could be any day, but it's not every day. Meaning Hayom b'Koil Tishmo. So says the Chabina Rav, be'emes Hayom Tishasher, is that when this Ani met Eliyahu Navi in the Shuk, and Eliyahu Navi told him he's going to be rich, he told him, okay, I know how this works. You're saying today, like it's Hayom, like the Gemara in Sanhedrin, like I'm going to be rich today if X, Y, and Z. He says, no, but emes hayom tisasher. Today you're really going to be rich. Today I mean today. So it's a funny line, Kilo, to explain a quirky line in the song. But the idea of it is that Eliyahu Navi is coming hayom, but it's an open-ended hayom. It could be any hayom that Klal Yisrael is worthy. To the point where we know, and we'll go into this in a minute, that there's different orders, meaning Eliyahu Navi can't come just any day. there's limitations. I'll show you the Gemara in Eruvin. There's a psikta that gives its own limitations, and we'll go through some of the different limitations. But the crazy Uplesi, Rabbi Yonasan Eibshitz, in the end of his kuntras on Sveikis, which is maybe probably one of the hardest things a person could learn, and Rabbi Yonasan Eibshitz is one of the hardest Mechabrim. Put those two together. Literally one of the hardest kuntras a person could go through. Rabbi Yonasan Eibshitz's kuntras on Sveik Sveika. In the end, he says, just to end off on a good note, on a happy note, I'm going to write a little bit about Mashiach. And in there, he behandles this nakuda of when Eliyahu is coming, and we say on Imam that he could come at any day, but then we also, Chazal give limitations to when Eliyahu could come. So he says, he gives the teretz that the regular idea, Be'ita and Achishena. There's two types of Mashiach coming. If Mashiach comes on the schedule, so in its system, there's a schedule. If Mashiach comes, suddenly, so then Eliyahu can just come suddenly, and it's not bound to the schedule.
You're saying they come together.
What do you say?
You're saying they come together.
Yes, one second. So they come together, they seem to come together, but meaning the Hayayim is one of these fluid Mashiach Hayayims. Meaning, like we've seen already in many of the different themes, it's a Mashiach Tika Hayayim. It's a Hayayim that could be today, but there's no way to know that it's today, and what the components that make it today is unknown. It's a Mashiach Tika Hayayim. It's Hayayim. It could be any minute, but it's an unstructured any minute. Now, to your point, Leib, Ad Kedei Kach, the Rambam in Parak Yud Beis, Halacha Beis, of Hilchos Malachim, Rambam writes as follows. He says, Amru Chachamim, Shebetchilas Yemaisa Mashiach, in the beginning of the day, Yemaisa Mashiach, Tia Melchemes Gog u'Magog. There'll be Melchemes Gog u'Magog. V'shekaydu Melchemes Gog u'Magog, Yamed Navi, a Navi will arise, Liyasha Yisrael, U'Lahavin Libam, to straighten out Klal Yisrael, and to Lahachin Libam, to prepare their hearts. Shenemar, and he brings this pasuk in Malachi that we started with. Shenemar, Hine Enechi Shalech Lachem, Es Eliyahu Navi. Ve'ene ba loyle tamei atar, v'loyle tar atamei, lifts al anavshin shem shechazkes kashrus. He's not coming to make any drastic changes. He's just coming, he says, El lasam shalom ba'olam, to bring peace to the world. Shenem v'heshav le'vavas albonim. Now, if you notice, see, that's the point. If you notice what David just said, the Rambam says that Eliyahu Navi is coming before the war, before Gog u'Magog. But here's the point. The point is the Rambam continues. The Rambam says, "Yesh min hachachamim she'omrim shekaydim b'yis Mashiach yav Eliyahu." Some of the chachamim say that he's going to come before b'yis Mashiach. Now we already know the little bit that we know. We know that Gog u'Magog and Yemais Mashiach are not the same thing, right? That there's a tahalich, and the amount of time that it takes to get from point A, Gog u'Magog, to point B, b'yis Mashiach, is very unknown. It could be.
Gog u'Magog is how many months?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. It's a lot of cycles. It might not happen. It might have happened. It might be in the middle of happening. There's no way to know that, to nail that down with any serious way. Now the Rambam himself.
That people are dying.
There's no set amount.
It's supposed to be trying 400 years.
Yeah. So we said this. We said the Chedush Urim. So we said the Chedush Urim that you could do that reverse also, right? Just like Yitzias Mitzrayim shmushed up 410 years into 200 years, you could have Gog u'Magog, which should have been an intense 3 months, spread over 2,000 years. Baal Shem Tov said the Tirdas Parnasa is Gog u'Magog, over all the years. Now, the pasuk says Tirdas Parnasa is for Chet Adam Rishon. Inflation is the Gemara insight. Meaning, okay, we talked about all these things, but Yich Shiyah, the Rambam starts off and says that it's going to be Kaidim.
Even if it says clear what it is, it still doesn't mean that.
Because it doesn't. Right, exactly.
Nothing is what it says it is.
Now, the second day, the Rambam brings that he's going to come before Yemaisa Mashiach, which is before Mashiach comes, which is already after Gog u'Magog. Now he says, and here is where the Rambam says what we've been saying literally every time. Nobody will know what it's going to be like until it will be. These are things that are sasam eitzel neviim. Gam chacham milam kabbalah dvarim elu. Even the chacham don't have a serious kabbalah. Lefi hechra psukim, lefichach yesh la machlekes b'dvarim elu. V'al and this we've said already many times. To marry yourselves to a specific narrative is not necessary because it's impossible to actually know what's what. Now, the Rambam himself is bringing 2 days as to when Eliyahu is going to come, either before Gog u'Magog or Yemais Mashiach. Now, there is some limitations that Chazal place on Eliyahu Navi arriving. Now, the first, let's just say that there's 2 versions in Chazal about Eliyahu Navi coming. The first version is I guess, I think kind of what we all think of just as children. Eliyahu Navi is the Mavaser. He's going to come 1 day before Mashiach, and he's going to say, Klal Yisrael, Great Tzachtu, get together, Mashiach's coming. Right, and that is well founded and for good reason. The Gemara in Eruvin.
That's when the shofar is blowing?
The shofar blowing, Eliyahu is going to come with the shofar, the Mavaser, Eliyahu Navi, the Mavaser is going to come, and he's going to say 1 day before Mashiach, Great Tzachtu, the Mashiach's coming. Now that is well founded. It comes from the Gemara in Sanhedrin and from Gimel with Aleph, in Eruvin, that from Gimel with Aleph, which incidentally. Yeah, absolutely. This is what I'm going to tell you. Chavetz Chaim Mametz Visa Yeshua, which they did not allow him to print because it sounded like Jews want to run away from Poland or whatever. It was only published later in Eretz Yisrael in Yiddish and in Hebrew. Chavetz Chaim in his Dar, whatever technology writes that the reason why technology is growing and things so that Eliyahu Navi can spread the word quickly.
Really?
So it's not crazy. Yeah, Eliyahu Navi will get the word out. Now that comes from the Gemara in Eruvin Dafim Gimel, which incidentally is mamish not an agad the Gemara. The Gemara over there is a real halacha discussion of yesh tchumen l'mayla me'asara in tchumen l'mayla me'asara. Is there tchumen above 10 tefachim off the ground or not? And the debate becomes: is Eliyahu Navi able to show up on Shabbos because he has to cross the tchumen line and then he's be going out of the tchum.
Crossing from where?
From Shemayim. Eliyahu Navi.
So he's saying he's also not here. He's not a person.
Yeah.
He's a mouth.
One second. We'll discuss that in a second. He's coming from Eregitzvu from Shemayim, and he has to cross that line, the 10 Tvachim line. then he's crossing Tchumen. What do you say? Hang on. So if you notice, what did we say by bris? We said it this morning. Okay, we're jumping the gun a bit. We say Eliyahu Malach HaBris. A Malach doesn't have Tchumen. Eliyahu Melech seems to be a shapeshifter. He's able to come in different surahs.
Only in Shabbos say Malach HaBris?
No, by Mila we say Eliyahu Malach HaBris.
Do you see Eliyahu?
Eliyahu Malach HaBris. Amoid Limini V'Samcheni. That's what we say.
You don't see Eliyahu.
Yeah, that's for sure. No,
That's the answer.
No, but sometimes. Some Sefer in the Tshuva in Chelik Vav, he's mechadish this idea with Rayas that Eliyahu Navi is a shapeshifter, and Eliyahu Navi is able to come in two different surahs. He says if you look at the Psukim and Malachim, when it talks about Eliyahu Navi dying, so it says Eliyahu goes up B'Sa'ara Shemaima, and he disappears. And Elisha, his Talmud, looks around and he says, Avi, Rechav Yisrael Parashav, right? He cries out, he can't see him anymore, and Eliyahu disappears. Now, Sefer says that there's no such a thing as taking a guf to the next world. A guf has no place in the next world. So obviously, the guf was stashed away somewhere in this world, and Eliyahu Navi, when need be, Hashem could marry that neshama and guf again, and he could present as a human. Otherwise, he now functions as a spirit, which is like a malach.
Similar to Montefiore.
Montefiore.
Similar to where the Rebbe's buried.
Oh, yeah.
There's an easy line in there.
Yeah, the guf could change appearance, exactly. It was. Yeah. So now says some Sefer, so on Shabbos, when he comes to a bris, it's Eliyahu Malach HaBris. He comes as a malach. As a malach, no tchumen. All the Gemaras where it says, Asa Eliyahu, and he told someone something, or he met Eliyahu, that's when Eliyahu was here doing something, B'tzuras Adam. He came as a person. When he came as a person, then there's a tchumen child. Now Eliyahu, who comes from Vaser the Geulah, Eliyahu HaMavaser, is a human again. Eliyahu, who comes from Vaser Mashiach, is not a malach, he's a person. So then the Gemara in Eruvin disputes, the tchumen issue. Now back to what we were talking about. The Gemara in Eruvin is telling us that the way the Gemara says it is, so then the Gemara says as follows: Ha'imr hareini nazir ki yom sheyav Eliyahu. Someone who says I'm a nazir, like the day Eliyahu is going to come. If he says that on Shabbos, it's not a problem, because on Shabbos Eliyahu can't come because of tchumen. Now the Gemara says every day you should be able to say that, because maybe Eliyahu has to come one day before, and if he didn't come one day before, today's not the day. So I'm sorry, you say like the Mashiach is coming. Gemara says no, maybe Eliyahu showed up somewhere to the Bezdin, and the word hasn't fully gotten out yet. But when the word will get out, Eliyahu will show up for everybody. So now Akapanim, leaving the tchumen aspect of the sugya apart, the Gemara is telling us a few details. The Gemara is telling us that Eliyahu comes as a person. When he's coming to Vasal Geulah, he's a human. He comes back as a human. And secondly, the Gemara is telling us that one day before Mashiach comes is when Eliyahu comes as a Mavaser and tells us Mashiach is coming. Now, if that's so, the Gemara says that anytime it's Shabbos, Mashiach can't come. Because we know, Chazal tell us that Eliyahu can't come on Erev Shabbos. With Erev Shabbos, Klal Yisrael is busy preparing. It wouldn't be fair if Eliyahu shows up on Erev Shabbos. So Shabbos, he's not here. Erev Shabbos, if he wasn't here Thursday, Mashiach's not coming. So but basically, you could black out Friday, Shabbos on your calendar. Erev Yom Tif, Eliyahu is not able to come, and therefore Mashiach's not coming. Now, that's what
Mashiach could come on Friday?
No, Mashiach could come on Shabbos without Eliyahu. The Gemara says Mashiach come on Shabbos without Eliyahu. Mashiach come on Friday without Eliyahu, because the Gemara is a cheshbon to the override. Because once Mashiach comes, we'll all have whatever we need, and there'll be enough servants to help out, and the Bahal is fine. Yeah. Yes. Erev Shabbos, Hakol Avodim Hein Yisrael. Everybody's an Evet to Klal Yisrael, so the middle will have all the help we need. That's the Gemara. So we have to see how that Gemara plays out. L'maisa. Now,
what's the page of Geulah?
That was last week. We can't
going backwards.
Yeah. Now, That's one version. That Eliyahu is going to come the day before Mashiach comes. That's the Gemara in Eruvin. That's mashma like that. There's some interesting diukim to be had from that Gemara that need to be revisited. The second mahalach is a psikta, and this one became a song, so I think most people should know this one. But the psikta says as follows: Man navu alaharim raglim mevaser b'shasha kadosh baruch hu Geulah Yisrael. I think that knows this song. Shleishi yom kaidim shiyavei Mashiach ba Eliyahu hanavi va'imid al hari Yisrael u'beichel masped aleim va'imir. That's day one of the Shleish Yamim. Achakach, Yom Bashalim La'ilam Bashalim La'ilam. Shenemar Manav Al Harim Raglim Vas Mashmiya Shalom. Yom Sheni, the second day, Bava Oimid Al Hari Yisrael Va'imir Batayv La'ilam Batayv La'ilam. Shenemar Vasa Tayv. Yom Shlishi, Bava Oimid Al Hari Yisrael Va'imir Ba Yeshua La'ilam Ba Yeshua La'ilam. Shenemar Mashmiya Yeshua Amalotzi and Malach Alikayach. So according to the Psikta,
You have 3 days, so it's the chill.
it's a 3-day process, exactly. According to the Psikta, it's not a 1-day thing before. It's a 3-day process that Eliyahu is going to come, and these things must mean something more than just that he says, these few words. Like he says, he announces these 4 words. They must mean something in what Klal Yisrael is doing and what the meaning. Although I can't tell you what the process is of what the chilik between Taiva and Yeshua and Malchut, like. There's different things that are being expressed here that clearly Eliyahu is doing, and many Svarim talk about that extensively, what the different steps of this process is. But B'chaleifin, Eliyahu is going to come with more of a 3-day process. Now,
When are the people going to die? Whoever's supposed to die before.
Well, it depends. If he's coming before Gog and Magog, so during Gog and Magog, those people are going to die.
You missed the first few shiurim.
If he's coming afterwards, then they're dead already. Yeah. Now I realize.
Slide down before he comes.
Right. So now this is Eliyahu. Now these ideas that I'm talking about from the Psikta, from the Gemara. If you read these songs, I have a bencher.
Why are the songs with the Shabbos?
Mesifta Eizvahada. That's what I want to get to. Mesifta Eizvahada bencher.
Looks pretty new.
I bought it special for this.
Oh.
I had a leather bound one, a little one, but not with this. This is like the
Pages for how to use it.
no. This is like the mother-in-law. There's endless drushes.
First time Eliyahu mentioned even in the Torah.
So Eliyahu depends. Hang on. If Eliyahu Navi's Pinchas, then he's mentioned in the Torah by Pinchas. If Eliyahu is not Pinchas, then Malachim Aleph Perik. Also Machlekes. If he's Pinchas or not, but
Here we go out the door.
But if Eliyahu Navi's Pinchas, and that's the Pashtus. There's Chazals that say Eliyahu Navi's Pinchas. So Pinchas, we know when Pinchas is, right? Pinchas is in the Midbar, and Eliyahu Navi's in Malachim. What do you say?
Reference him as Eliyahu. Is that your question? Your question is define your question.
The man Eliyahu Navi lived during Achav's Tkufa, during the split in Klal Yisrael. Let's
There
say
was a real man Eliyahu.
yes. So let's say about 3,000 years ago.
Pinchas, that was
No, if anything, he was a Gilgal Pinchas or a Neshama. His name was Eliyahu. Yeah, no, I really should start with that. The Tachas ha'etz, and eitz means the eitz hadas and Gan Eden. He's Yeshiv Tachas ha'etz. The Kaisev Schuyas shel Shomer Shabbos. Eliyahu sits and writes the schusim of people who are being Shomer Shabbos. So Kilu Eliyahu is talking about us the whole Shabbos. So when it comes Moitzi Shabbos, we talk about Eliyahu Navi.
He does it on Shabbos?
Yeah. It's in Shemaim. There's no, again, Shemaim is a malach. Shemaim doesn't have to keep the Torah. He's allowed to write. He can do whatever he wants. And whatever's on the program.
So what's his name?
Now,
the guy in the
Yeah,
trailer.
Yeah.
The guy in the trailer. He writes
The third reason that's given for why we do Moitzi Shabbos Eliyahu Navi is because the famous Gemara that Ilu Yisrael Mashamrim Shabbos Achas Miyadin Nigalim. So we're hopeful. Maybe this was the one. Maybe this was the Shabbos that we did enough. Maybe this is the Shabbos that we kept it. And
Should be anything before Shabbos then.
we should sing about Eliyahu Navi.
Yeah,
to
because
inspire
after
us.
Shabbos is really didn't work.
We don't know. We're not all Jews are sitting in one shtetl. Jews are all over the world. We're hoping maybe this is the one. Maybe this is the one that there was enough schos from Shabbos and it could be Yav Eliyahu. Now, what is Eliyahu Navi's job when he comes? So his primary job is to be the Mavaser, right? They tell us the Mashiach is coming. That's the primary job. What else is Eliyahu Navi going to do when he comes? So I'm going to read you off quickly a few of the different ones. These all come from Chazal. Some of them I'll speak out, some I won't. The first one is Lavaser Space of Mashiach, obviously. That's a pasuk in Fereshus, that's a pasuk in Malachai, that's the Gemara, that's the Psikta, that we know that's Eliyahu Navi's main job. The second job that Eliyahu Navi is going to have is Limshech as a Mashiach L'melech. Someone has to pour Shemen HaMishcha on top of Mashiach's head. That's going to be Eliyahu Navi's job. Now Chazal say elsewhere, I believe it's Gemara Menachos, that L'asad Lavai, when Mashiach comes, the Shemen HaMishcha that was hidden is going to be revealed. We'll have Shemen HaMishcha again from Moshe Rabbeinu Shemen HaMishcha. And Eliyahu Navi will be Meshach the king to establish Mashiach as the king.
It's going to happen there to Yisrael, all this?
I don't know. I'm assuming yeah. I'm assuming yeah.
Probably. Or
Yeah, I'm assuming yeah. The third one is this one. The
Yeah,
Rambam
right.
said, "Lahashav es Yisrael b'tshuva," to inspire Klal Yisrael to do tshuva. The fourth one is this one.
Which means not too late.
Right. Well, the Rambam, if you note when the Rambam says that according to the Deya, the Mashiach's coming before Gog and Magog. The Rambam says it's the Asher Slibam and to give them to help with the tshuva.
It's before.
Right. If it's after Gog and Magog, so I don't know what it means. Not too
Right.
late. I
We
mean,
can still do tshuva.
right. What did you say?
Everyone's gonna see it.
No, that we spoke about in previous weeks. It depends who you ask. You know what I'm saying? Not so simple. Not so simple.
The only people that do true are going to survive. That's
Right.
You wouldn't
Yeah.
do tshuva if you got one
Last
guy.
is shown. That's
Yo,
all.
if Eliyahu knows and you don't do tshuva, you're a putz.
Yeah, that's
Go down for the record.
yeah. You deserve it. No, then you earned it already.
What
So,
are you doing?
yeah, you earned it.
Stupid kid.
Okay. Another thing that he's going to do is Tchias HaMesim. Eliyahu Navi, this is the Metzudas in Malachi says this, that Eliyahu Navi is going to be the one who's oversees Tchias HaMesim, whatever that means.
I'm saying this is very
Yeah,
confusing
coming out
because
fluid.
we didn't know that was the part
It's
of
not
the
even
schedule.
clear that Tchias HaMesim is part of this Tkufa. Yes, this is I'm telling you- I'm telling you things that are said.
Before Mashiach comes, everyone's coming alive.
I'm telling you things that are said. Like I said before, there's no way to know if these narratives all stem with each other, they don't stem with each other. This is the Metzudas. Now, this is an interesting one. Eliyahu Navi is going to come back to give smicha to the Chachmei Yisrael. Eliyahu Hanavi, now, we haven't had smicha in Klal Yisrael in a long time, real smicha. Right? And if you don't have smicha, let's say you can't do knasis, you can't do certain dinim that Rabbanim can't do without smicha. Now, Eliyahu Navi has smicha from his Rabbi Achia Shilani. Achia Shilani is one of the Meister HaTorah, and he has smicha going all the way back. Incidentally, the Baal Shem Tov, who did not have a Rebbe that we know of in this world, was known to have said that he learned B'chavrusa, his Rebbe was Achia Shilani, incidentally. So the Baal Shem Tov used to say that his Messiah comes from Achia Shilani. So Achia Shilani is Eliyahu Navi's Rebbe, and the Baal Shem Tov's Rebbe, but the
Don't worry about it.
Baal Shem Tov said it.
He said it?
I don't know. They all say that he said it,
It
but
wasn't alive at the same time.
no kidding, yeah. But Eliyahu Navi has smicha. Now Eliyahu Navi could come back and give smicha to the rest of the Rabbanim who need smicha. Now this I'm not going to go into this, but this comes from where it comes from. But it actually was used as a raya in one of the biggest fights in Jewish history in the 1560s. Pachas Yisr. There was a huge fight between the Rabbanim of Yerushalayim and the Rabbanim of Tzfas about smicha. The Maribe Rav, I believe, in Yerushalayim. The Maribe Rav in Tzfas, who was the Rebbe of the Beis Yosef and the Radvaz and others, tried to reinstitute smicha based on a diak that he had in the Rambam that if Roiv Chachmei Yisrael get together, then they could reinstitute smicha without having someone being masmich them. And he felt reinstitute the institution of smicha, the Rebbe being masmich his Talmud.
Physical, like.
Yeah, a Rebbe, you don't have to actually touch him. No, but a Rebbe gives.
What's the whole idea that?
So the point of doing it was to bring Mashiach, actually, because then they felt they could be Mashiach. It's part of a whole tkufa. It's a Sunday morning shir. I'm not getting into it now, but the Maribi Rav started this, and he actually gave the Beis Yosef smicha, and then the Maral Bach, who lived in Yerushalayim, held that it was very nareis gehalt, and then there's kontrasim, both of them have kontrasim smicha back and forth against each other. And it's a colorful fight with many rayas, but one of the rayas that was thrown around was Eliyahu Navi coming and giving smicha to Chachmei Yisrael, based on how to learn that sugi, meaning if it was like a rejuvenation of smicha or it's a continuation of smicha. I'm not getting into it, but it played a role. This idea that Eliyahu Navi is going to come and reinstitute smicha played a role in that fight. Now, another famous one that we know Eliyahu Navi is coming to do is all the tekus, right? The Gemara is full of teku, which is an acronym for Tishbi Yitar, it's Kushis V'Avayis. Eliyahu Navi is going to come and he's going to, be misader all these kashas. All these questions. And the Yehemunach, well, that teku is not Yehemunach, meaning Yehemunach is right. Yeah, exactly.
We're working hand in hand
Right.
with Kelly Stefanski with that.
Yeah, Lamashal, just for interesting for this Nakuda, I once saw a tshuva from the Rasag. Rasad Yagain, who's, what is it, like 1,300 years ago already, has a fascinating tshuva. If someone was married to two wives in his lifetime, he married one woman, she dies, he marries another woman, and, yes, Chaim, and he's dead and buried all of them, Who does he come back with by Tchias HaMesim? Who's he married to with Tchias HaMesim?
Kalam Beida.
No, that's
Very
really,
bad.
yeah. Who's he married to?
Very good.
So first he handles who he's married with, and then he says a very interesting nakuda.
Picks one.
He says, no, there's no reason for me to resolve this question. Tchias HaMesim, so Moshe Rabbeinu will be here, Eliyahu Navi will be here. Ask them, leave me
I
alone.
mean, that's great.
This is what he says.
Leave me out of it.
The Hainu Teku. The answer to the tshuva is Teku. It's like, I don't know, there's going to be people who can answer these questions. You don't need me for this question. So Teku means, all the unresolved halacha questions that were left open, all the open tabs. Eliyahu is going to come and finish up. Now, I think that's enough for Eliyahu Navi Mashiach for now.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.